Yes, boy!
Yes, boy!
Yes, boy!
Yes, boy!
Yes, boy!
Yes, boy!
Yo, what's poppin'? All my peeps, is I, your host with the most, Renaissance man, who always thinks he can, and obviously your champion of the peeps, Patty Pitts, back once again in the yard streams for another edition of the Raw Rewind, part of Pitts and Sara's wrestling show, where we take no nights off. Yeah. We're taking no nights off. We may have taken one a day ago, but we really didn't. All right. Because I was watching wrestling. There's someone in here who's in the yard of streams already. The best of the West you can't forget about. Sara Marshall doing her thing. Sara, I already introduced you. What's poppin'?
Hey, yo!
Hello.
Whoa! How we doing on this fine Wednesday?
There's a lot going on today at this moment.
There's a lot going on in life, Sara. It just feels like every day is just like someone's story is starting. It really just feels like it's piling on. But no, we have the Tom Brady Hall of Fame. Is it the Hall of Fame induction? Isn't it?
Yeah,
it's
Patriots
Tom Brady
Hall of
Day.
Fame.
Yeah, it's Patriots Hall of Fame before it gets to Canton. It was announced as Tom Brady Day if you are from the New England area, specifically Massachusetts. So Sara's got that on in the background, obviously. And, we got our nonsense going on here. And we're here to talk Raw, all right, on Wednesday because that's what we do. And a little bit of a switch, too. Friday is the No Nights Off show, the legit No Nights Off show with your host, Pitts and Sara, on Friday, 7 p.m. Okay, just a friendly reminder about that because it's been a wacky week. Yep. And it feels like that kind of happens when pay-per-views are coming around. You know what I mean, Sara? Mm-hmm. Like, it just, everything gets crazy because, we don't really record on Saturdays because there's a pay-per-view on Saturdays, and then we have to record Sunday and all that. So it's been a wacky week. We thank you guys very much for sticking with us and being as loyal as you are. I mean, we already got some loyal peeps in here. Bernard, I couldn't think of anyone more loyal than that motherfucker. Bernard, my dude, was popping. Richard, Dicky, good episode of Raw. 2 things you hated. Oh, okay. Well, we're gonna talk about all that. We actually have topics about the Unholy Union and the APA. David, what's popping to you? Thank you for all those people and whoever else is here but didn't comment. Thank you so much for being here and sticking with us on this wacky week. Because Sara, Raw happened, and I know it's not. I know we say this. It's just like it's fine, it's good, but the A stories are crushing it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing is that with the shows now, you can obviously tell they're going in more of a show format with like the A story being obviously Judgment Day, Liv Morgan, all that. And then you have the B story, which kind of branches off into its own mini Bs. And you got like, Ricochet, Ilya, Braun. You have the tag team titles. You have the women's tag teams. You have the B story, the actual B story of Chad Gable and Sami Zayn. So they're all like little things that are interesting, but they're not the one thing that you tune in for, which is fine because Clash of the Castle, all you really care about is one man walking out of there as World Heavyweight Champion. I can't. That's all. It's going to be a very good show.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited about it. I'm excited that it's happening an hour later than normal when they're overseas. I'm excited for that. But yeah, I think it's going to be a good show from beginning to end, which is nice.
It's good. And like they have a different, I mean, I'm just excited for the I Quit match because other than the card itself, it felt like a SmackDown. Like, I don't know why, but it just feels like there's a lot more Raw centric matches to me on there. But then you see the I Quit match with Cody and AJ, and like it's like okay, they're gonna put on a really good show, and that crowd, it's gonna be incredible. Mm-hmm. All European crowds, God, you guys are the best. So you want to just let's just go right into it. Enough of my royal ramble and Sara. We need to talk about what's going on. And starting off with that, let me see what that first banner is before you hit it. Yeah. Judgment Day kicking off the show again with our good pal Drew.
Mm-hmm. So Drew comes out, and it's funny because I think he even addressed it in a video that they posted online after Raw ended. You could tell, like, as he was coming out, he was actually like high-fiving people on the ramp as he was coming down, which was kind of funny because there are some people who will do that no matter who's walking out. It's like it could be the biggest heel in the company, and there's going to be people that are still trying to do that. But Drew actually was doing it, and so you were like, oh, okay. And they did it at the end of the night as well. And he like looks at the camera and says like, oh, who's been the good guy all along? Like, people are finally noticing that I've been the good guy all along. And I was like, I've known this. I've been saying forever that he's a heel, but he's common sense. That's basically what it is. But anyway, so he comes out, and before he can really say much of anything other than, he's going to win the title, blah, 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 he says Damian Priest's name. Damian comes out with Finn and JD, right? Does not Carlito though. I don't think. Yeah, no, it was just those two.
No, it was just Finn and JD.
McDaddy. Yeah.
Yeah, McDaddy.
And they get into it. Obviously, we know that they are going to have their big match at Clash at the Castle, but Drew wants to reiterate the point that most people have been saying about Damian Priest even before he became champion, was that none of Judgment Day can win matches without the help of somebody in Judgment Day. And Damian takes issue with that when it comes to his title run, because he's like, okay, well, I won the title and I didn't have help from Judgment Day. And I'm like, we're leaving out a huge factor here, brother. Yeah, it's CM Punk. You know what I mean? Like, technically, Judgment Day didn't come out and help you, but if it weren't for CM Punk demolishing Drew, then you wouldn't have cashed in. So, like, let's be real. And so he says, you know what? How about you take on Finn Balor tonight? And if you win, which you won't, then Judgment Day will be barred from ringside. But if Finn wins, then Judgment Day can be there. Not because I need them to win, not because I'm going to need them to do anything to help me accomplish that, but just so that they can be out there and see what it looks like for me to retain my championship. And Drew agrees, but you could tell Finn was not pleased about this, because obviously he didn't say he would do it. Damian was like, hey, you can take on my boy. And so I think that was another little, maybe not necessarily like an Easter egg, but definitely something that I think that maybe some people were overlooking, because I think that might be setting up what we might see in the future between Damian and Finn.
We're seeing some seeds planted for sure. We're actually seeing some seeds planted.
And it's going to be interesting because I think, based on what we've said, and we'll get into the whole Liv and Dom thing, but it's going to be interesting to see how they go about that, because I think the title, Damian still being the champion and then feuding with Finn at some point, is a lot more interesting than seeing Finn versus Damian without the title. But then we're saying, even before we went live, that a CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre match, feud, whatever, feels like it has to have the title involved as well, and that it's not as hot if you don't have the title. So it's kind of tricky to be like, okay, like, what would be better? What would make for more entertaining storylines and matches? And of course, the biased side of me would love for Finn to be involved in a title match at this point. So it's hard to be like, okay, what do I want more,
To me, it seems like Damian Finn needs to still be built up until Rhea Ripley gets back.
Yeah.
So you're right. It does need the title, but the good thing is it's not now. It doesn't need it right now. So you're gonna inevitably have Drew walk out all that CM Punk, SummerSlam, that, but it doesn't have to come at the sacrifice of the Judgment Day inevitable breakup, because that's still cooking. I mean, we still have a lot to go there, and I mean, it's exactly how I would expect a Damian Priest led Judgment Day is going.
Yeah,
And
'cause
it's very entertaining to watch play out
it's falling apart, which is
at the seams.
yeah, it's getting interesting, but not as interesting
Yes, this
as Liv Morgan. So
every man's dream.
most people noticed that when Damian Priest came out and was flanked by Judgment Day, that he was not flanked by Dom Mysterio. And it was like, oh, okay, where is Dom? So we see him in the back arriving at the Judgment Day clubhouse or the Judgment Day lair, depending on what you want to call it. And Liv is there just like, hey,
Shocker.
hey, boys. And Dom pretends that he is not interested. And Liv is like, okay, you know, I can leave, but before I leave, here is my hotel room key. And that becomes like the theme of the night. The room key is where all the drama was throughout the entire evening, even to the point of Finn tweeting out keyfabe is what he tweeted out today, keyfabe, which I loved because I was
That's
like,
so good.
I love you, Finn.
That's so good. I gotta give him credit there.
So she then says that Dom is with the wrong woman because you know, the right woman would never ask you to call her mommy. The right woman would call you daddy. And so we have Daddy Dom, the emergence of Daddy Dom.
I'm all
And
here for Daddy Dom.
huh?
I love Daddy Dom.
You love
I'm
Daddy
obsessed.
Dom.
I'm obsessed with Daddy Dom.
I think it's funny. I don't know. So we then see Liv leaves and Dom is just like, what do I do with this room key? And as I said, it becomes the theme of the entire evening. And when Judgment Day comes back, because they're like, oh wait, where was Dom? Dom then tries to explain to them what happened. And this was a highlight, I would say, of the night based on the fact of how different their reactions were. Like, you could see Finn was like trying to be genuinely shocked that Liv would do this. JD was trying not to laugh, and Carlito just said, that's cool.
No, that Carlito's reaction was legitimately my favorite out of all of it. Because I didn't even hear what JD said, but when Carlito just goes, cool, it was like
that's cool.
Hell yeah. We all have that friend. Like, oh, it was awesome.
Yeah, like the most human male response to that situation.
Reaction. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. So it then becomes a theme throughout the entire evening where at one point the hotel room key goes missing and no one is fessing up to it. And then all of a sudden it falls out, or Dom reveals that he has it. And then they put it on the table and they're like, whatever, like, don't worry about it. And we see that Finn grabs it. So I'm assuming that this is going to play out in some way at, I would say, next week's Raw, because I don't think there's nothing really going on with them at Clash of the Castle outside of Damian. The rest of them, there's nothing going on. Like, Liv doesn't have a match. The rest of Judgment Day doesn't either. So we could see something, but I'm assuming that we'll probably see maybe what happens if Dom went or Finn, whatever, you know, the drama.
I think. Oh, I'm shocked we haven't seen that. If who went to the hotel room, I'm shocked that wasn't made into a YouTube original.
Yeah,
like what are we doing?
I know that would have been good, because especially, you know, the Liv Dom stuff has been cooking on social media. It's like by far their most viewed videos and social clips or whatever over the past month. Exactly. So it seems like a missed opportunity. But I am so into this story. I think they're doing so well. We see Liv come out during their tag match later. She gets pushed off the side of the ring apron and straddles Dom on the ground. And so it's like they're really going full into this. And this is exactly what we have been talking about, and how much I said, this is what I want. I said if they were going to go about this, if they were going to have Liv be, you know, a Black Widow type of character, that they need to go full out with it. They can't just have it be kind of like hinting or like teasing. Innocent. No, you need to go full into it. And they still have plenty of ways to go, but I think the way that they've started it, it's like, this is perfect. This is exactly what we need. And I really can't wait for this to keep going for another couple months, because we assume that
Oh,
Rhea
I
won't be
love
back
it.
for a little bit. So I'm like,
Yeah.
where are we going to take this? Like, what is the end game?
I need this to last at least a couple more months. It's so there's no need to do the innocent schoolgirl flirting. No, go bad. No, like the innocent, like, oh, stop it. Like, no, like go freaking all in with it, like what they're doing. Like the straddling. I have a theory that when she straddled him, she put the hotel key
Oh, maybe.
back.
Mm.
I truly, okay, we're going in kayfabe here. We're talking in kayfabe. I truly believe Dominic Mysterio is a pawn.
I think that makes the whole
He's a
thing so much
pawn.
more interesting, because he's a pawn, but then he's like a victim in it at the same time, you know? But I do
Oh
think that
yeah,
we're going to see eventually that, yes, it's Finn and Liv, but
yeah.
Dom does end up doing something with Liv. I think he ends up failing to the temptation. So,
Oh yeah. No, she's gonna, like, Finn's the puppet master, but Dom is the arm candy,
mhm.
for lack of a better term. Like he's gonna be the guy that Liv is calling Daddy Dom,
Yeah.
and making him into, the star or whatever that he should have been with mommy and all this, and it's only going to build the feud between Liv and Rhea that
Mhm.
much more. It's unbelievable.
And imagine the heat that Dom will get
Oh my
if
god.
he actually chooses Liv over Rhea.
Oh my
Like,
god.
if they actually become like an on-screen couple or something like that. And that's why I'm saying, like, it's hard to imagine that for someone like Dominic Mysterio, who already gets some of the most heat in the entire company. But imagine how beneficial that would be for Liv Morgan. If we want to have Liv Morgan be this giant bad girl in the division, they're not doing that great of a job in making a true legitimate heel in general. That's something that I've said, but especially in the women's division. So it would be great if they could pair them together, and Liv really benefits the most from it, on top of Rhea coming back as this over baby face that, like, she would be hotter than like Becky Lynch. Like, that's the type of love that she would get from the audience. So I feel
Oh my
like
god,
that's
that'd
the
be
only way that makes sense. And then I think the interesting part too would be Finn's role in all of this, because Finn, if he really is in on these shenanigans with Liv, he could kind of go either way. Like, the reception, I mean, he could be seen as like a hero that's like, oh, he exposed Dominic for like being this actual bad guy who never really loved Rhea, blah blah blah. Or he could be like the ultimate worm, for creating
I
all of
think
this and
that's
manipulating it. And that's what I want. I want him to be a squirmy wormy, like, that's what I
oh,
want.
squirmy wormy.
Yes, because I think that I love heel Fergal
I'm
Devitt.
gonna
That's
use
what
it.
I need. I
Squirmy wormy Fergie.
Squirmy Wormy Fergie. Yes, exactly.
That's fucking
That's what I
ridiculous.
need. So,
Because he is.
okay.
He is at the end of it. He is at the end of it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like, so I would love to see that, and I think he needs to go more in that heel road, because Damian, I don't know.
It's not working. I said on Twitter again the other day that I really need a Bullet Club like run for Finn Balor before he hangs it up. I
1,000%.
really
Oh
need
my
it.
god.
And I need it in WWE, because I assume he's not going to go anywhere else. Or if he did, he
Nice.
would go back to Japan, but I doubt that. I'm just like,
No.
I
No,
need to
yeah,
see a
yeah.
proper Bullet Club from Finn before he leaves. Um so anyway, I've been seeing your comments, Tom and Jerry, and I don't know why you're being such a hater, but you can leave if we're not entertaining enough for you. Feel free. Do you want to get to other comments? Because people
I'm sorry, I was kind of trying to ignore that one. Doing a good job of it too. I see a little bit like that, but not
Not yet.
not as wild west of wrestling in that way.
I
It
think they
just
need to pull some from that because it
oh
was
yeah.
rated R and very risque and controversial. So I think that they need to go to that level if they're going to continue this or if they're going to actually be like an on-screen couple. But obviously we don't need to see a live sex scene on Raw. Like we don't need to get
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm
that
alluding to is that that's
crazy.
where like I would like to see that dynamic in a way, but let's just keep the clothes on.
Yeah.
We know where we are now. We know what the demographic is. So yeah, I'm just all for it. That's really all the comments we had. So next. Oh yeah.
Well, look right here. Like Liv will keep seducing Dom. Real will
Literally.
return, and Dom will have to make a choice. I bet he
Where do you
chooses
see
Liv.
that?
That's what I need. That's what I need. Um, I think that's the only. I don't know. That's the only way that I think that would make this the most entertaining. Honestly, I really think that's what it is.
We have one more comment. We're
Okay.
question for Pitts. What are you doing if Liv hands you that room key? I'm not even recording. We're going on to the next topic. You don't want my answer. You didn't. Let's talk about things you want the answers to.
Okay. So we
And yeah,
saw the first match of the night, which was Io Sky versus Lyra Valkyria part
wow.
2. I mean, if you are a fan of women's wrestling, I can't imagine you did not enjoy this. I think if you're not a fan of women's wrestling, I can't imagine how you didn't enjoy this because they're just so good. It's just cool to see, I think, too, when I feel like a lot of the men specifically that get called up from NXT, they get a lot of the hype and they get a lot of the praise. You know, like everyone's been talking about Braun Breaker, and I'm not saying it's not deserved, but we can't have people like Lyra going under the radar. You know what I mean? Because she has had what 3 matches, basically 2 matches on Raw, I think, and then she had the Queen of the Ring.
She beat every member of Damage Control.
Yeah, so she's
At
been
least like
like
4 or 5.
incredible matches.
Yeah.
So good. And it's like I feel like they just don't get as much respect or they're just not really being
It's
talked
the
about as much as I
crossover.
feel like they should. And like they killed it again. They had that Queen of the Ring match a few weeks ago that went for 19 minutes and you would be like, "Okay, that was a banger. They can't do it again." They did do it again.
Boom. Did it.
Io does get the win, which I think was the right decision based on what they're trying to do with Io right now, and it doesn't hurt Lyra. So like I think it was fine. So
No,
Io
Io
gets the
needed to
win.
win. Io
Yeah.
needed to win that match, 100%.
I'm curious what they're going to be doing with Io because we see that she's having a hard time with losing the title and losing her spot in the Queen of the Ring tournament. And we just keep seeing her freaking out. And the other members of Damage Control are just kind of like letting her and not really knowing what is going on.
What do you
So
do?
I'm interested to see what does this lead to? Like what is because she's not actively involved in the women's world title picture right now. So it's not even like, oh, well, eventually she's going to get her match and maybe she'll become champion. I don't know. I don't know what the end game is for Io at this point.
Oh, talking about EO, it got us a little $5
Oh,
dono from
thank
Will Chisholm.
you.
Haven't go these in a while. It's kind of nice.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Will.
I think it's really cool that EO is having the spotlight on her, and now she's going to have a dream match
Yeah.
at Marathon. That's the other element to this, where you could have Damage Control take time off WWE TV, and you could have them do stuff like this where Damage Control needs to change. Or what if them doing Marigold, you get the entire Damage Control involved because Kairi Sane obviously, is got the connection there too. You could have bring her involved. Then Dakota Kai get her in that scene, and then it becomes a different version of Damage Control. It's more hard, more physical, whatnot, and then you get them into some sort of title or feud, whatnot. I like that. I'm a big fan of that.
I love how much Triple H is like encouraging this under his regime because we never thought that anyone in WWE would ever be able to do anything outside of WWE. They would never be able to do other events. They would never be able to I mean the partnership with TNA is something that we've talked about a
That's
lot. That never would have
revolutionary,
happened.
seriously.
Yeah. Um And so I like this because I think that a lot of the time under Vince was you can't acknowledge the other wrestling companies.
Yeah.
You can't acknowledge what they did before WWE or what they did after, before they came back. You know, like you couldn't acknowledge any of the competition at all. And I think that worked for a while, but I don't think that works now. We're living in the social media era. So everybody knows, like, you know, NXT, for instance, how many Easter eggs did Cody Rhodes have during his appearance on NXT?
Oh my
The
God.
segment with Lexis King, Shawn Spears, and Ethan Page, that was all like, you have to
Awesome.
be a well-versed wrestling fan to
Yes.
understand what that was. And the reason why they're doing it is because they know a lot more people understand what that segment meant than not knowing what it meant. If we did this 10, 15 years ago, everybody be like, what? You know? But everybody
Exactly.
knew. So I think that's why it's important that Triple H is doing this and encouraging it more. And it's like you're also expanding your audience to people who maybe they didn't watch WWE, but now because you're having, you know, Io Sky doing this match outside of WWE, maybe more of those fans are going to be like, oh, let's see what Io's doing and who else is wrestling in WWE. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
same thing with the crossovers with TNA. TNA fans, maybe they're not watching WWE, but oh, Jordan Grace is on, or maybe they keep doing hints of Joe Hendry. Maybe I'll watch NXT, you know, like that's
And
a good
vice
idea.
versa.
Mm-hmm.
Now you get your talent on their show,
Mm-hmm.
and it elevates them into, you know, into another level,
Yep.
which that's why Triple H and Paul, whatever you want to call him, is so good and the right for the role right now, because he sees that competition is good for your brand. It's only going to make you better. So why not throw them the bone? It's not hurting you by saying their name, and it's only going to help you at the end of the day get more eyes on your product, because people from TNA are like, oh, like just for instance, Tatum Paxley going after the knockouts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you get 10 TNA fans like, who the hell is Tatum Paxley?
Yeah.
But then they follow her on Twitter or social media. They're tuning in NXT. If they tune into 1 hour or 30 minutes of NXT, you successfully did your job.
Well, and
That
then
is
they
the
might want to follow her. So it's like, okay, maybe we want to wait and see what happens when she gets called up to Raw or SmackDown. You know, like that could be a lifelong fan right there. So that translates from just NXT to the main roster, which is more than they could expect, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so all right, moving on to, as you said, it's like the B story right now,
But
which
it's so
is
good.
Sami Zayn tries to help Alpha Academy from Perk Gable.
Facts, Micah.
It's funny because he mentioned in this on this episode of Raw how he's experienced this very situation before. He compares it to the Bloodline, which we had talked about as well, that there were definitely shades of the Bloodline on a lesser scale going on with the Alpha Academy, and Gable being like the leader, the tribal chief of the Alpha Academy. And it was cool to see that backstage segment, because they are trying to do the more like realistic feeling moments. You know, we had Otis talk breaking down his career, even mentioned Mandy Rose, not by name, but that was a big part of what we saw from him, the Money in the Bank run that he had. So that was cool. And Sami goes out there because he's supposed to have a match with Otis, and he doesn't really want to, because he knows like Otis probably doesn't really want to either. He's just doing it to please Gable.
It's
And
so sad.
it's
So
I don't know. I
sad.
find it I'm not as bought into this whole thing as everybody else. Like it's fine, but like I'm just
Why?
not, but because, you know, I've never been a huge fan of the Alpha Academy. So it's like I don't really,
Because
it's
they're,
like
yeah, okay, fair.
I'm yeah,
Valid.
and the main story really does surround Chad Gable, and it's like Chad Gable is incredible in the ring, but like he's just not my guy. Like he's not a wrestler that I'm like begging to see and like look forward to watching. You know what I mean? So obviously I think the heel turn was needed, and I think that how they're going about this storyline is the right way. I even was laughing when Gable came out and was saying like everything is fine, like they want to be here. you're just trying to involve yourself in someone else's business
so
again.
oblivious.
And
It's
so
amazing.
true. But that's so true. Sammy does put his nose into everyone else's business. Like that has been what he has done over the past couple years. And so I was like, that's what a lot of the basis of his
You're a
storylines have
hater.
been. No, I love Sammy. I love
Yeah,
Sammy. I just
okay.
thought that was funny because I was
It
like, no,
was
that
good.
is
It was good.
true. That has been happening. And obviously you can tell they look like they are being held captive.
Terrible. What?
Yeah.
What's
So
terrible?
we still do
Poor
see
Maxine.
Sammy versus Otis. And it was very quick, which I wasn't.
But didn't end in it wasn't a clean finish.
I
Chad Gable
know,
just fucking.
but there were people who were not too thrilled about how quick it went. But I also wonder if there was
Why?
a reason for it. Like maybe Otis wanted the match to just end, because like what was going to happen, other than
It made
what
no
we
sense
saw.
to go. It made. I'm not yelling at you, by the way. I'm just yelling at the peeps.
Yeah.
That there's no reason for this match to go more than it did.
Yeah.
The whole point of this was to get Otis more pissed.
It was
intense the fire that
Yeah.
is going to eventually break up Alpha Academy.
It was
and
the end.
launch.
What happened after the match is the whole reason for what happened, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the slaps, like the slaps of the face, and you can see when Otis is running at Gable, and Gable moves, and he hits Sammy anyways. He knows, like, that's rage. He's fighting for his
Yeah.
family in Maxine and Tozawa. Like,
Mhm.
here, it's rage, so it's only building that to when it finally happens, you're going ballistic.
Yeah.
Happy for him.
Well, and I assume that maybe it'll come to a head at Clash at the Castle. I would love to see a bunch of turns at Clash at the Castle because we talked about how Austin Theory, it would be sick if they did that too. But I don't think that the Alpha Academy stuff has run its course, but I do feel like, again, the audience is pretty behind Otis as it is, and then you're going to a place that's going to be rocking all night long. Like, just do it in Scotland.
Yeah.
Just have him hit or do something
Rip the
to
Band-Aid
Gable,
off.
even if it's on accident, you know what I mean? But he doesn't stop himself from doing it. Like, at least set that, push that into motion, I think, instead of doing these things that we just saw on Raw where it looked like he was going to do something to Gable, but then it was like, no, it's so fine if I hit Sammy, I think
the title.
Scotland would be a great place.
What if he hands, like, Chad Gable's like, give me the title, give me the hit him, and Otis won't give him the title, won't give him the title.
Yeah.
And that's what like that. It's little details like that, because then Otis it's everyone is taking these opportunities. Oh, there's so much little detail there. I took way too many English classes.
Yeah,
Way too many English classes.
Yeah, I think that there's, I don't know. It's good that there are a lot of ways that this can go, I think, which makes the story feel a lot more interesting than most stories, especially one that's not considered the A story. The fact that people are very involved in this. There are people, I mean, the fact that the audience is already chanting for Otis, like, he barely did anything, and you could tell he kind of got emotional when he was out there and he heard them cheering for him. And I was happy for him because it's like, he's never going to be the face of a company. But he's busted his butt to be in the position that he's in. And I also just learned that him and Chad Gable have been best friends for like over a decade. Like they they were, I guess when before Gable got into the Olympics, I think this is true, that Otis was also an amateur wrestler, and so that's how they met. And that was
we gotta double check that.
Yeah, I saw it on Twitter.
On
someone
Friday's
say
show.
it. So
we'll get that fact checked and talk about it on Friday's show.
That would be pretty cool. Well, we can talk about this. Yuck Fu Inc.
Yuck Fu!
Kind of like that name. It's a pretty cool name.
I do.
When do you guys think the White Six is going to make their appearance? The tease was this next Raw. That was the date if you scanned the code on this past
countdown.
Yeah, it's counting down to next week's Raw. So I kind of
You
am
don't
torn.
see
I'm
a, like,
torn about it.
Clash of
What?
the Castle little appearance to
No, I don't
be
think so.
okay.
I think there's gonna be too much other stuff going on. I mean, it could happen, but I don't know. I'm a little bit concerned about this just because I feel like people aren't receiving this as well as they did when it was Bray Wyatt. And I feel like people are not giving it a chance before we even see it. Like, we don't know how this is going to go. We don't know how supernatural they're going to go with this. We don't know exactly who's going to be in it, who's not, and what they're going to do. And like, I think that people are already writing it off as something that's not going to be good because they already assume they know what it is going to be, but we don't know.
No
We
idea.
don't even know what the Wyatt Six originally was going to be because we never got to see it.
That would've been-
So the envision of whatever that was going to be can't be put on this new version because we don't even know if they're much different or whatever. But I also think that people just need to give them more credit for going through with this, especially if Taylor is doing it, because can you imagine how difficult that must be?
Oh my god.
Like,
It must be like Joker-esque type of mind games trying to get into that character to do that role.
the fact
Like
that he even agreed to do it, or
seriously.
he said that he could do it. Like, I don't know if they asked him to or if he came to them and said, "Hey, I really want to do this." The fact that he did that not even a year later is amazing to me, and I feel like that's one reason why we should buy into it. Like, give it a chance because we don't know how much they are trying to involve Bray's ideas into this, or Wyndham's ideas. I guess
Or
I'm
how
going to call
many
him Taylor
yeah,
when I should call him Wyndham.
Wyndham,
Um,
yeah.
we don't know how much they're going to involve his ideas because there were plans for things to happen before he passed away. So it's like we should be more interested in that because if you supported Wyndham or Bray Wyatt, then why wouldn't you then support his brother's
It's
attempt at trying
exactly.
to put this to fruition, you know? So
Yes.
I have high hopes for it. I'm gonna be interested in it, even if it isn't as great as people want it to be, you know?
Oh yeah.
So
I think
yeah,
it's yeah, it'll be good. It'll you got to give it time. Like you really got. That's really all we can say is you got to give it time.
yeah.
Um,
Okay, so should we move on?
yeah, that's all the
Okay.
comments I got left in me
Okay.
right now. Yeah, yes. Let's talk about this.
So
This was awesome. This
so we
was
see
awesome.
Braun Strowman in the LWO versus Carlito, JD McDaddy, and Dom Dom. So we never were told, it just happened that Dominic is fine, that he's cleared to wrestle again. They never really said that. He just showed up at Raw without a
He's been
sling, and then it
work.
was like, okay.
It was last week he came out with the chair.
I
And I
know,
was
but
like,
I'm saying,
oh,
like, they
he's
never were like, he's cleared, you know, like, or he's back. Like, we never got that.
because he doesn't
But
want you to be. He doesn't want you people to tell. Like he wants to slide in there like a slimy little worm.
yeah. So you know, this match, it's whatever. I'm really tired of the Mysterio on Mysterio thing. I'm just over it. I don't care about it
Family
anymore.
Feud.
It's just annoying. You know, it just feels more like the LWO versus Legato again, but it's
But that's
the LW
wrestling.
that it's just annoying. I'm over it. We
It's
thought
just
that was going to be
wrestling.
done when they moved from SmackDown to Raw,
No,
but we know
they're
that
always feuding.
Braun Strowman has beef with JD, so that's why he was in this match. And yeah, I don't know really what else to say about this match. It's like
I loved it. It was so fun.
it was whatever.
I love it. Was, I think I'm obviously alluding to the live stuff, but then after that, and this was like the icing on the cake, was after the live stuff. You know, Zelina gets involved and whatnot, and it's just Dragon Lee in the ring, hits
Mhm.
Braun with that hot tag, and Braun just battles up the horses and just I love when he runs and just bulldozes people. It is one of the most simplistic things in all of wrestling that I cannot get enough of. And
I
he just takes everyone out. Like that was what the match just needed to pretty much culminate in, so that you could be like, all right, Braun, no one's messing with Braun Strowman, okay? And then
yeah.
Zelina getting her whole
I
body.
know,
Just
because he like
that was
doesn't
so
realize how
funny.
big he actually is.
He's hilarious.
But yeah, I mean, this was a match, you know. It was whatever. I just whatever. We're kind of flying through this today too, but just because
Are
I
we
feel like
really?
there
Well,
was
it's 40 minutes. We're 40.
Yeah.
How many we got left?
I don't know, a few.
Oh, we'll be over now. Sarah. We're
Um
just having a good time here in the art of
so
streams.
yeah. So we got more Money in the Bank declarations, and they finally set the record straight that there will be matches, qualifying matches happening on Raw next week. So all these people that are like, I will be Money in the Bank winner, and you're like, you gotta
Have you even qualified?
Yeah, it's like, are you even gonna be in the match? I don't know. But the thing that I wanted to talk about, and I think we've kind of talked about it already, but I'm seeing it hyped up even more. We don't really have a feeling on who we think should win Money in the Bank. So I don't have a favorite the way that I did, last year or whatever. But a lot of people want Jey Uso to win, and I don't understand this. Jey Uso again was not even on Raw. So I'm like, I'm not saying anything about
got
Jey
a video
Uso.
package.
But come on, like, why does he need to win Money in the Bank? That's the thing. Can someone explain to me why Jey Uso makes any sense to win Money in the Bank? I don't get it.
I agree with your sentiment. Give me a reason, because I legitimately cannot think of one other than I like the guy. There's so many other people that you could put it on. For God's sakes, I actually would rather Randy Orton over Jey Uso.
Well, and that's the thing is, like,
Seriously.
when we were talking about like King of the Ring, for instance, because that's the most recent relevant similar situation. We were trying to figure out who would it benefit more to win, because people really wanted Randy to win King of the Ring. Most people were saying it's because he's never been King of the Ring. Okay, that's not like a basis for why somebody should win. You know what I mean? Like, it made more sense for Gunther to win. Like,
exactly.
But when you think about Money in the Bank, I don't think there is a man that is the front runner this year. Like, we already know for the women, most people are saying Tiffany, or there's even a lot of people saying Chelsea. So those make a little bit more sense, just given how wide open the women's division really is, or how good a Tiffany Stratton Money in the Bank run would be. But when it comes to the men, I just don't really understand the Jey Uso thing, other than I love Jey Uso and I want him to be Money in the Bank. I don't think that makes any sense.
No, makes no sense.
We have talked about people like this. Feels like it could be a year for a guy who doesn't necessarily need the briefcase to be in the main event or to get a title picture to win the Money in the Bank this year. I could see that happening. Jey Uso is not one of those guys that I would say that could be, like I said, if it could be Drew McIntyre if he doesn't win. It could be CM Punk if Drew does win, or Finn Balor if Damian retains. Like, something like that, like, those guys make more sense than Jey Uso. Jey Uso's way down the line for me, so I just don't really understand at all.
I don't either. I really don't understand.
I can't come up with anything either. Like, I'm sitting here trying to understand or come up with a reason why, and I can't think of anything.
There's no connection. There's no connection or path that makes sense for him to go and challenge a champion. Like,
especially when we know what the end game is going to be with Jey. The end game is going to be he reunites with the bloodline. He gets back with his brother and Roman. Like, we know that's what it's going to be.
The bloodline's pulling him back in. Like, you're not done. Like, you're still involved here. Okay, yeah. Family here. Mm-hmm. Like, that's what's going on.
Yeah, and there's no need for him to be champion for that. So it doesn't make any sense to me. Then we move on to one of the more disappointing parts, I would say, of the night, which is something that I'm still trying to wrap my brain around because I really don't get it. So we know that there was going to be a triple threat for the women's tag team titles at Clash at the Castle between Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill versus Shayna Baszler, Zoe Stark versus Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, which we're excited about. But before that, they're doing that thing where they're like, oh, let's have two of the teams that are in the match. Let's have them have a match on the week before the pay-per-view. And you're like, why? But anyway,
it's
just wrestling.
It's just wrestling.
So they have the Unholy Union versus Shayna and Zoe, and they basically have this be a squash match, which I was not prepared for, nor do I think was okay. I don't understand the logic behind it, other than they're going to probably be the hometown favorites on Saturday, so they're going to be cheered equally as much, if not more, than the champions, who everyone loves. Everyone loves Bianca and Jade, so they might get more than that simply because of where they are. But I think that when we're thinking about, okay, who's going to actually have a shot at winning the tag team titles, Alba and Isla are third. Like, they're not going to win. You know that they're not going to win.
They're going to get the pit. Oh no, I don't know.
I think that I think Bianca and Jade are retaining, but I just don't really understand the thought process behind having them basically be buried on the Go Home Raw. Like, I don't understand that whatsoever.
Yeah, the bury, to me, I didn't see it as a bury, just more of a, oh wow, Shayna and Zoe are really more of a threat than they thought. Like, Shayna can just choke someone out like
but
that.
Do we need
we
that?
didn't need to know that. No, we didn't need to know that. But that's just them taking the hammer and just.
I agree with Richard in the chat. He's saying that Alba and Isla deserved. They needed that win. I think that they should have gotten that win.
Is it?
It was the last comment. No, it was the last comment.
Oh, I am really all over the place.
I think that they should have gotten the win, because I don't think anybody is looking at Shayna and Zoe as a pushover team that shouldn't be feared. Like, they're being they were put together because of how tough and rough and like scary they are to the rest of the women's division, because of their style and all the things that they can do. So I don't know that we really needed to see Shayna choke them out. I feel like we know that Alba and Isla are probably not winning on Saturday, so why not give them a win on the go home show that literally means nothing?
It could have been a roll-up win too. That would have been even better, because then you would have had Shayna and Zoe even more pissed heading into the pay-per-view. You would have had a nice moment between Bianca and Jade laughing, and a good shot that you could put on social. I'm more agreeing with you now that we're talking it out. But in the moment, you don't think that. It's like, all right, whatever, throw away. You're pissed. You're like, okay, like, cool.
And Richard makes a good point too, that Shayna just had a match with Lola Vice on Sunday. So why did she? I get it. I get it that they could have been like, oh, she's mad, but like at the same time, like,
you think they're doing that like NXT's canon? So like a loss.
I don't know.
She can't have 2 losses in a row. She's Shayna Baszler, so you got to really knock. It's more about, see, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I don't. It was just weird. I just think that
we also don't care enough about it like we do the A story. It feels
but I do think that Alba and Isla look like they were kind of just thrown into this match because they're Scottish, and so it's like, okay, well, you could have at least tried to legitimize their presence in this match a little bit more by having them win a meaningless match in the go home show to Raw, or the Clash of the Castle. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't. Because now it's like they don't look like a threat at all. They look like they were just put on here because they're from Scotland. That's what it looks like. Like, even if that really is all that it is, they could have at least made them look like a legitimate tag team, the one moment that they had before the pay-per-view, but whatever, I guess. Then we have Braun Breaker versus Ilya Dragunov, leads to the inevitable Ricochet dying on live TV. So there were rumors about this leading up to the episode of Raw that Ricochet was leaving the company, that he has told WWE he plans to let his contract expire and he wants to explore his options elsewhere. And he's still under contract. I don't remember when it's up, but so there were reports out there that were saying, okay, they're going to do something to write him off TV. But as of right now, he's still under contract. So we don't know if he's going to come back, if he's not going to come back. Like, this doesn't necessarily mean that he was written off TV for good. We don't know. But we knew it was coming because Braun Breaker, hello. So Braun versus Ilya, so good. I'm like, pay-per-view quality match. I don't care what anyone says. That was pay-per-view main event quality between Braun and Ilya. The problem that I had, of course, is just that I wish that they would treat Ilya the way that they're treating Braun. Can you give Ilya the star treatment the way they're giving it to Braun? Like,
Yeah. It's
like
just
I get what they're trying to do with Braun, and I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it, but I also feel like we shouldn't be just like throwing Ilya to the back burner simply because like, oh well, we need to develop and build up Braun. Okay, you can do that with Ilya too, but that's my bias speaking. So we do eventually see, Ricochet comes to the defense of Ilya because he told him like, hey, I got your back, and things look fine. So that was when people were like, oh, is Ricochet actually leaving? Because it was like, okay. But then we see the parking lot brawl later on, and Braun really took it to Ricochet and appears to have thrown him onto real glass windshield.
Cry me a river, Sara.
So yeah, that was intense.
Did you see how before he slammed him through the real glass, did you see him launch him like a lawn dart?
Yeah. He
And
also accidentally hit the cement really hard on the
there it
back.
is. Circle gets the square. We're on the same path. I was more cringing like that when he hit the concrete rather than the real glass. Like
it's
that
like,
to me
this
was
is supposed to be I know, it's like this is supposed to be fake injury, not real injury. He's supposed to be strapped to a gurney going to a fake hospital, not a real one,
That looks like they hired the hospital. Like that did not seem like a WWE ambulance that was taking Ricochet to a medical facility.
Yeah.
That was like Sam Irvin. Shout out. Yeah, I want to get to this comment because girl, you belong in Hollywood or in cinema at some point in your career because well done. I mean, obviously you're probably real life. Oh my God, what just happened? Because I mean, you look at the concrete, the real glass.
Yeah.
But to convey that in like to the fans and have everyone like, oh my God, look at Samantha. How is Samantha okay? And if she didn't do a good job, we wouldn't be like, oh yeah, Samantha, that was terrible, all this. But like, we're like, girl, we're here for you because it was so authentic.
Yeah.
The facial expressions, the mannerisms. It really felt like she was getting in that ambulance with her. It was awesome.
I know. I think that was the right move as well. And people were talking about how if this happened under Vince McMahon, that never would have happened because Vince didn't like to acknowledge real life couples, or like Samantha never would have left. And it's unfortunate because it's like that sold it even more that Ricochet actually got hurt and Braun actually did do damage to him. The fact that everyone knows that Samantha is his fiance, so it's like, okay, yeah, let her leave. And there are a lot of people too that were concerned about Ricochet leaving and what that meant for Samantha. Samantha's not leaving.
Not leaving, guys. All
like
right?
people need to remember, Samantha came into WWE. She didn't know Ricochet. Like, she was coming in to start a career for herself. She's established herself. She would be a fool to leave WWE now simply because Ricochet is. Like, that would be like Ricochet retiring, from in-ring competition, and then Samantha decides that she's leaving too because Ricochet's done. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
To realize that you can be a happily married, engaged, whatever couple and not work for the same company. It's very commonplace in real life, guys, that husbands and wives don't work at the same place. And not only that, you're taking me there. Because if you look at mommy, let's just take the biggest women's star right now, Rhea Ripley. Her boy, are they engaged? I don't know that's in there, but her significant other,
fiance,
Buddy Murphy, fiance, is in, I would say, the most underrated faction in all of AEW in House of Black and thriving. Okay, it's not like they're they're on the shelf or whatnot. No, they're doing very well in the role that they're in. It's okay, and Rhea helps him, and like that's what you do. You guys got to think outside the box.
Yeah,
life, the green trees.
Here. Yeah, so I think that it's going to be fine. I think people need to calm down. It's going to be fine. And that we're lucky because it would be such a shame for Samantha to leave. You know, like she's become
Oh,
the
it'd be awful.
voice of WWE.
Oh my
So
god, she's a star. It would be career suicide.
yeah, it would be,
Seriously.
yeah, I would be so upset. Like it would be a much bigger story. It would almost be a bigger story than Ricochet potentially leaving. And I mean that in a respectful way. I think that that is how much Samantha is
I
loved
think it
right
would
now.
be. I
That
really think it would be.
I really do. Um all right, then we see the AOP versus Awesome Truth, and I think for the most part, most people who aren't just I guess big Awesome Truth fans, it kind of made you question why Awesome Truth are still the tag team champions. I've been thinking that basically since they became champions. I said I never wanted them to be champions because I think it was just a nostalgia thing. And that was why people wanted it. And I get it. It's necessary sometimes and it's fun sometimes. Obviously, I'm not discrediting that, but I felt like they didn't really have a lot of long-term plans for them. And I think that we're seeing that as them being champions, that there's not a whole lot of effort being put into their title reign. Is more so of having them on screen and to be entertaining and maybe have like a couple funny segments or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's great and that's dandy, but then they're the tag team champions. So we need, like, there's far too many tag teams on Raw that should be in the tag team title picture, but they're just not doing anything. And I don't think that, you know, Authors of Pain had a chance of winning, but you kind of knew that they weren't going to because they're kind of making Awesome Truth like untouchable at this point. And I'm just like, all right, we need to move this along. Like, give it to somebody else.
I love these R-Truth segments. The Miz going backstage and being like, "Where's Truth?" Sammy's like, I don't know, dude." And then Miz saying, "Well, you can't leave Truth alone. He does bad things when he's alone." And it's him walking out saying that he talked to a fortune teller about their tag team championships and they're going to be involved with unicorns. Like that. And you think, like, what the fuck did this man just say? That makes no sense. Fun fact, it's wrestling. Everything makes sense.
Yeah.
The fortune teller, you see Scarlett walk out and he daps her up. I lost it at him dapping her up when she did the princess hand. Incredible. And then it's the unicorns. Well, you have to keep in mind who's really feuding with the Final Testament. It's the New Day to come out and help. And it, to me, it felt like it was just, you take the comedy element of Awesome Truth that you need for the episode, and we don't really have enough time because we want to give more people whatnot. Let's combine stories and just have it all, and it all kind of worked out. It all leads to, you know, further things. And for me, I think the Awesome Truth winning and having these matches more just establishing themselves as a tag team champions. The Creed brothers are my pick for them to dethrone them.
I think that's the only right decision because we know Alpha Academy is going to split probably at Clash at the Castle or, you know, not long afterwards. So Gable's going to want to surround himself with new people, and who better than the guys that do exactly the same stuff as him, being the Creed brothers. And I think that would be a way to also legitimize the new faction for Gable. You know, if he then brings on these younger guys and takes on this mentor role and then they become champions not long after they team up together, like that would be a good way to start that faction. Also to make it look like, okay, the Alpha Academy were a bunch of bums, you know, as Gable is saying. It's like, okay, look at, like, these are guys that actually listen to what I tell them, and they're actually talented and athletic, blah 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 blah. And also benefits the Creed brothers because they've not really been on TV, and I think they need to be heels at this point. Like, something needs to be, because it's like what Gable, it's like it only works for so long. You can kind of skate by as just being kind of yourself as a character.
You're just a wrestler. You're just a wrestler.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's like, we don't want you to look like a caw, because that's kind of what it is. Like, you're just another dude in a singlet but like you need to stand out. Like there's, there you can be a guy in a singlet, but you got to be a Rob Van Dam. You got to be,
you gotta
a
have an
Big
aura.
Show. You got to be something
You
that
have
like,
to.
yeah. And so I think that they're gonna have to try and figure that out. And I think maybe being a heel would work. But I think they need to take the titles off, because I'm just not like I'm happy for R-Truth, and I'm happy that they had their moment at WrestleMania and whatever, but that was 2 months ago.
Yeah,
like
we need
I
to
think
move on.
Yeah, we need to move on.
We need to move on. I'll get to some comments before we actually move on. Yuck Fu Incorporated. I would really like to see a Kofi heel run in Final Testament. That would be amazing to see. I am with you halfway, only because of curiosity. I just want to see kind of Kofi and Xavier Woods feud, just because I'm a wrestling fan. I would like to see where that story would go. But in reality, I don't think that would unfortunately happen. I think in a nonsense galaxy is the best possible place for it.
I really would not be surprised if something like the New Day will get like the John Cena treatment, where it's like they're too.
You really think?
I wouldn't be surprised. I think that if we see a heel turn from both of them or either of them, it's their decision. They said that that's what they wanted to do. That's what I think it's going to be.
Yeah,
kind of like Jimmy versus Jay at WrestleMania. That wasn't necessarily something that I'm sure Triple H came to them about. It was like, hey, like they mentioned that they wanted to do that. It was a dream for them to do that, and so they let them do it. I feel like either the New Day are going to get the John Cena treatment, where it's like they're too over with like everybody and the kids and stuff that we can't turn them, or it's going to be them advocating for it. That's the only way that I see it happening, because we've never seen Kofi as a heel. So it would be like quite dramatic for that to happen.
We really haven't.
They were supposed to be heels. The New Day was supposed to
be
heels.
That's the only thing I can really think of when they had the choir.
For the 1 or 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah. This is ridiculous. No, give us happy baby faces. Vinny's here. Just he's had a couple comments, but he wants to be acknowledged. So what's up, Vinny? What's the other one? So Legato and Final Testament ice cold right now. There really isn't much going on with them, and it's just your story's not hot. That's really what it is. Like there's not a role for them, and it's fine. I mean, we have so much time before SummerSlam even.
I think it's weird. I really feel like there are some bigger issues with how Triple H and his people are booking people. I think that's kind of becoming more of a problem that you can kind of see. Like they're better than Vince, but like they're not that much better than Vince in some ways, because then you see this where it's like, they literally brought back Karrion Kross. They brought back Scarlett. They brought back AOP. Like, why are you doing nothing with them then? Like the whole purpose of this, like, why are they not doing really anything? Legato, you finally, like, you built this whole thing up with Santos Escobar turning on the LWO, and then it's fallen flat ever since. Like, they're just doing nothing. The same thing with like Andrade. Andrade is now doing speed matches. Like, what are we doing? Like, I'm just like,
they're really trying to build up speed, though. I think that's them really trying to build up speed.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's just kind of frustrating, because I think, he's already champion technically.
Well, because
he beat Ricochet. Ricochet comes back from the dead and loses the title. But yeah. I will forever love the speed tournament, only because that is when I got to see JD McDonough double flip the birds to a fan.
I've never seen someone get so. I mean, granted, it was fucking hilarious. It was really funny.
He's an icon to me for the rest of my life. So
I'm glad you had a core moment.
Yes. So then we move on to the main event, where we get to see the handsome bastard from Scotland versus 0% body fat from Judgment Day. Shout out to Pat McAfee. I think he's super annoying, and I don't 99% of the time I'm not a fan. But
shout out Pat McAfee. You're so annoying.
Yeah.
I just, like, what the
well, because I appreciated this segment. I was like, okay,
it was good. Thank you. You can
I
appreciate
love that
good. That's all I
Drew
care
was
about.
like encouraging it too, because
Oh
he
yeah.
gets in the ring and he like looks right at Pat and he's like, all right, you better do this the right way,
Yeah, give
like,
me a good ass introduction here.
yeah. I also thought it was funny that he even said that Finn was 225. Bro, on what planet? Dude's 190. Like, what are we doing? Because
0% body fat
which
on
is
a
true.
225 frame.
Yeah, it's like no, he's not even
There's no
200
way.
pounds, bro. Not even 200
Yeah,
pounds.
girl, you know.
I would know because
That's what I'm
technically he's a
saying.
cruiserweight, which is weird.
That's so weird to think of, like people as being cruiserweights. It's just
I know, because when you think of cruiserweight, you think of Rey Mysterio.
Rey Mysterio. It's
Yeah.
Juventud
or
Guerrero.
even like Crash Holly, because they were
Kid
smaller.
Cash.
Yeah. Who?
Kid Cash?
Oh, sorry. I thought you said I don't know what.
Oh,
I
you thought you said something else. I got you.
Anyway, so there were big stipulations in this match as set by Damian Priest at the beginning of the show. If Finn Balor won, then that means that Judgment Day was allowed ringside for their match at Clash of the Castle. If Drew McIntyre won, then that meant that they were barred. So this match was going to be a banger, and it was a banger. You knew it was going to be two Europeans, Irish versus Scottish. Come on now.
Do we know? We know what we're doing.
I was so excited. This was like a dream match for me. Just throw in like Gunther, Pretty Deadly, Giovanni Vinci, like just throw them all
your
in there.
euros. Throw all your euros in there.
Yeah. And so this was a really, really, really good match. And we knew, I would assume, from the beginning that Drew was going to win.
Yeah,
This is not a bloodline rules type of match that, okay, yeah, they're going to do the bloodline rules. No, we need to see Damian without the Judgment Day. And you knew that Drew winning and not having Judgment Day at Clash of the Castle, that just means that CM Punk is going to show his happy ass up at Clash of the Castle. So, yeah, so Damian didn't look too pleased because he was very confident in Finn winning. And, on any other day, maybe Finn could have won. But we needed Drew to win. And so Damian looked a little scared because now he doesn't have anyone that's going to be in his back pocket to save him from potentially losing to Drew in Scotland. Yeah, so I assume, because there were some people that were like, oh, well, I bet you people from Judgment Day are going to show up anyway. I don't think so. I think it's going to be CM Punk. But there are so many ways that this could go. And we've talked about it so much. Like, I honestly have no idea how this match is going to end, how it's going to go at all. Like, I don't know who's going to win. I have no idea what's going to happen afterwards. And it's good and it's bad. It's like, I like the unpredictability, but I don't like the uneasiness feeling that I have.
Yeah, I kind of had, while you're talking, this kind of question just hit me. Do you think they're even going to abide by the Judgment Day can't interfere and whatnot? Like, I feel like that's just like,
yeah,
more taboo that they're even out there, and then that's going to make Liv be involved too. Like, you know what I mean? I just see it's just a moot point.
I kind of feel like they need to, simply because Damian brought it up for no reason. Like, Damian decided that could be a stipulation on his own. He didn't have to.
And that wasn't agreed by all of Judgment Day.
Yes, but then Finn lost, But like, Drew didn't say, oh, you have to ban them from ringside.
Exactly.
It was like Damian was just like, oh, like, I feel so confident, blah, 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 blah. And I also think that if it were that they came out, we would kind of need to see that moment with Damian that we had been before, where he was telling them to go away. I feel like he would need that, because otherwise it's just going to constantly bring up the illegitimacy of his title run. And it's like, you wanted to make him a champion so that we could have him in the main event picture, so that he could be treated as such.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you then have his entire title run be the latter half of what Roman Reigns' title run became, like, that's bad for him.
It is bad for him, but it's bad for him, but I see the other side of it. So
yeah, I just think that we're probably going to see CM Punk, whether he is a distraction, whether he prevents Drew from winning, or he reigns on his celebration. I think that's that's inevitably what's going to happen. And I mean, like I said, I feel like we kind of all knew that before this match
You
was
already
even
knew it. Like
created.
This
So,
match, you just knew you knew the result before it was even going to happen.
yeah, which it's fine. I think that's fine. It's still like unpredictable, as I said. I don't love it just because I have more emotional ties into this match than I think I would have, because I've become such a big Drew McIntyre rat that, like,
You really have.
I
It's
know.
been great to see the evolution of that.
Well, you didn't know me 10 years ago.
Yeah,
Because
I
10 years
did.
ago is when he was released from WWE. 10
Yeah,
years
10
ago.
years ago today. He tweeted about it.
Yep.
He's the headline now.
Yes. But back then I was like surprised, but I was like, ugh, but then, like I said, he got bigger and
He
hairier.
towered over what's his face?
Finn.
Balor.
Yeah, well,
I was looking at them at the start of the match. What
Finn
the
is
fuck?
5'10", 5'11", so.
And that's crazy. Like
And that's tall. But
that's
yeah,
tall.
but Drew's like 6'5", so but yeah.
It's like
So
my buddy and
oopsies. Oh, what is
I.
happening?
Did
Hold
you want to
on.
put?
Hold on, no, I can't. Where am I? Okay, sorry. I clicked out of here. But go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, back. Okay. Bernard also DM'd me this, but I didn't look at it yet because recording. But Ricochet has upper body injuries. WWE considering capitalizing on what happened Monday night. They talking about bringing him back for at least one more show.
Yeah, I heard about that.
To what?
I don't know. I think
legitimately to what?
Well, because from what I've also heard is that WWE is interested in keeping him, and Ricochet isn't leaving necessarily because of being frustrated with whatever. I'm sure that's part of it, but it's just because he's getting up there in age, I'm sure, and he knows how big of a name he was before he even got into WWE, so he can go and do shit in Japan or Europe, wherever. And we've seen people who created the blueprint for being a free agent, indie star,
Cardona,
so he could go and do that. Huh?
Matt Cardona, Matt Hardy,
Cody Rhodes.
Cody Rhodes before.
So,
Ethan Page too.
Yeah, so it's possible that he'll do that. I do think it's kind of silly for him to come back if he's not going to come back with a new contract. I don't see the benefit of them having him on for one more show for what? Like,
that's what I'm saying.
My
thing, yeah.
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense. To me, it makes no sense to leave if you're Ricochet, but also I'm thinking more the safety element where if you go to AEW, we'll say, it's great that they have the working contract with New Japan. You can go and do shows there. Like, look at Bryan Danielson, for instance. But you're also going to be wrestling probably once a week on Collision on Saturday nights. And from a wrestling standpoint, Collision tapings are not like the main show.
Yeah.
I had to actually, I was pissed about this, but that's life. It is what it is. I had to leave Dynamite or AEW when I got my ticket early with Soar because I had to go work in the morning, but there was still Rampage that they were going to. And give it for what it's worth, it is an hour, but Rampage is a good wrestling show. You know what I mean? They're good wrestling shows. And that's where he thrives, but you're going to take a couple steps down, not only in pay, but of lore, of stardom by going down to AEW, and not in a bad way. You're still going to be the same high popular wrestler that you are, but you're not going to have that WWE attached to you, which kind of makes you a little bit more relevant in the pop culture eyes.
Yeah, I agree.
Rampage is not dead, Kervin. All right. Just it gets overshadowed by the playoffs and Collision. All right. It's playoff. That's the thing, too. I think we have to realize as wrestling fans. Oh, you deleted the banner? Did we not do the sliding one anymore? Okay. I've really been off. That's the thing about the wrestling right now with playoffs in sports is that if you are anyone or if you're in AEW and you're trying to hit that TBS TNT, that's where the big sports contracts with basketball and hockey are. You're going to get bumped. And as much shit as, not only you, but I've given TK over the past couple months, he does a really good job at pivoting and maybe not having a show on a certain night, but then it's like, all right, well, we're still going to air it on this. He's very good at getting his product on the air. But if you're Ricochet, like, not many people are like, look at the numbers. Just follow the numbers. Follow the numbers. So that's all we got. It's Raw, Sarah. Decent Raw. And we'll be back on Friday for the actual No Nights Off show where we talk all things wrestling. And I just realized this. We recorded today. I usually do the Bad Gal. I didn't get to do the Bad Gal. Everyone should tune into the Bad Gal tomorrow. Seriously, it's me pretty much playing. Not pretty much. I'm playing a 2K, the WWE 2K24 My Career mode. I picked the women's story, and obviously I made Sara as my my wrestler. So you got the champ of the peeps managing the best of the West over in the Nonsense Galaxy with WWE. It's pretty good. You got a good feud going on, Sara, right now. You're making a name for yourself over on the Red brand. So go check that out tomorrow. I'll be streaming that. I might do the socks one because my socks franchise I'm currently working on is really heating up too. So I might stream that. But that'll be a streaming day tomorrow. So be, twitch.tv/Nonsense Sports Network. It'd be great if everyone tuned in and subscribed to that channel. And, you're subscribing to that channel. Subscribe to this one. The one we're on right now. Why subscribe? Hit that subscribe button, bell notification to know every time we go live. We post videos from the show. If you joined late and you missed a topic that we probably talked about, you can go back and watch it. And we're working on some other stuff as well. We're trying to grow every day, Sara, get better. And I think we have, obviously, you can see by the background that we have, the upgrade there. And if you tune in on Friday, you'll see another upgraded background as well, because we just keep moving up, Sara.
We're
and we
trying.
hope our peeps do as well. Thank you guys for tuning in. God bless. Remember that you can do it. All you got to do is try. We will see you on a Friday. Yeah.
Oh!
Yeah. Oh, that's new.